And we're live. Hello, Brandon. How's it going?
It's going good, Tracy.
For those of you who don't know, my name's Tracy. You can follow me on LinkedIn at Tracy S. Lee or on X at Lady Lee. I finally got off of saying on Twitter. This is my first time. It's first time for everything. I'm joined by Brandon, and Brandon and I have known each other for years and years and years.
True, true.
I have incriminating videos, which I'm going to save. Like right now, you're not embarrassed by those videos, but like maybe in 10 years, you'll be embarrassed by those videos, right? A lot of
Embarrassing
TikTok videos,
TikToks,
nothing crazy. Yes,
nothing
yes,
crazy, just
yes.
dancing and stuff like that.
So Brandon's an engineering lead here at this dot. Um, and we've been working on a lot of really cool React Native projects, and it's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, yeah. And something I wanted to talk about today was some of the work that we've been doing on Skylight Social. Um,
Hmm.
Skylight Social is so Tracy, Skylight Social, I mean, as you know, it is a TikTok clone that's built on the AT protocol.
Hmm.
And one of the key features of TikTok is this infinite scroll of videos. So we have this situation where we want to be able to render videos out to users. However, as you scroll more and more and more, the app was slowing down. Users, they would start watching videos and they would scroll about 20 videos in, and all of a sudden things were getting laggy. The app wasn't as responsive anymore. And we had to think a little intensely about this because it things in the mobile world don't work the same as in the web world. I mean, that's like my origin, Tracy. You know that. My background was working a lot with React, even like in the old school days with Backbone JS and stuff like that. So if you wanted to have a bunch of video elements on a page, hundreds of them, and they scroll constantly, and you even load more. I mean, the browser is very, very well optimized for this like nonstop scrolling. But when it comes to the phone, things are a little bit different. So, what I was hoping we could do today is we could take a look at some of the code that we wrote. And then I wanted
Yeah.
to maybe sketch out visually like how this
Mhm.
algorithm is working. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's been so exciting to work with Skylight Social, such an amazing team over there, Tori and Reed. And it's been going so fast. And for those of you who don't know Skylight, the team launched the project, Brandon and Dane specifically, and obviously Team Skylight. And it was like, what, number one in the App Store in less than 24 hours?
Yeah, I mean, less than 24 hours.
Insane.
I mean, they onboarded like hundreds of thousands of users, all slammed onto the platform at once. Which like, thankfully we were using Supabase and PostHog, so we had these really scalable database solutions that could
Mhm.
handle that sudden influx of users. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely a fun
An
ride.
adventure.
Yeah,
It's
an
so cool to be
adventure.
part of that. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, Brennan, show us. I mean, I'm so curious to see about this performance scrolling and sort of like what
Okay.
and why is this important, by the way?
So
Like, I mean, specifically for mobile versus web, right? Like,
absolutely, absolutely. So um well, let me talk. Let me. I guess I'll kind of demonstrate a little bit what I'm talking about. And I mean, really, in summary, the reason why this is performant is because, or I'm sorry, the reason why this is important is because users, whenever you're dealing with an entertainment application, you have this really intimate interaction happening between the user and the software, and that's that it's making people feel happy and enjoy the experience. And as people are scrolling through videos, they may scroll very fast to skip a lot of videos they don't like. But if the app starts to slow down and the scroll starts to become jerky and just weird things begin to happen, people were just clicking off of the app. And this was all pre-launch, by the way. This was just in small testing groups within very small test-like groups of individuals, especially on Android phones. The feedback was, "Hey, I'm having a lot of fun with the application. However, after I watch about 20 videos, things are very laggy." And that was manifesting in when users, for example, like, I've got the app pulled up here, when they would click to the profile button, it would be very, very slow to go to that page. Or when they go to search, it would be extremely slow to jump into there. But yeah, I mean, like, as what was going on was, as the user was scrolling through their videos, like
Mhm,
so, a new video player was being instantiated every single time. And while
mhm.
React Native does have garbage collection and it does have memory cleanup and things like that, if you're
What a horrible
instantiating a
video
lot
to
of
stop
videos,
at. Scroll
this is a
scroll
really bad
scroll up
video
a
to
little
start
bit
at.
more. I there we go.
That was a
This is more
horrifying video
pleasant.
to stop at.
I know. I don't even know what that was. I don't even wanna know.
That's a good catch. That was making me a little uncomfortable. But
But you were saying,
it,
like,
it
each time a new video player was being instantiated.
yes, right? Like,
Mhm.
every single time we scroll through one of these pages, a new object was being instantiated that is the video player itself. And then the video is being loaded in, which is fine. But then, like, as these video players, as you scroll through, they become what we call in the engineering world, they get orphaned, which means they know they become dereferenced. They're not being utilized by the phone in any way, but they're still sitting in memory. Kind of like if you're, in your kitchen cooking, and you use this pot and you use that pot, and every single time, if you wanted to make like 20 different dishes, you use 20 different pots, you would be in a super messy kitchen. And all of a sudden you would find yourself really slow to move around and do things. So, what we kind of thought was, what if we just, I mean, to kind of keep with the cooking analogy, what if we just got 3 pots and reused them and cleaned them every time? So, where we landed with that, I do have some code that I can kind of demonstrate what it was that was going on. So, Tracy, let me kind of show you, like, in code a little bit what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to visually draw out where it is that we landed. Or maybe we'll go back and forth. But what you're looking at here is the actual component that renders this scroll screen right here. So what's going on this screen is there's a video player in the background. We also have these elements. We have the like button here, we have the comments that opens up, and the description, the see more area, things like that. But what I'm really specifically going to be talking about is that actual video player that's kind of lying behind all of those components. Because what you have to do in React Native, um, let me pull up here my documentation that I can show everybody. So, what we were utilizing on the Skylight application is their FlatList component, which is a special made component for dealing with scroll in this situation. If you have a list of items that need to be scroll and the list is very repetitive, like your contacts, for instance, if you know the size of every element, you can do special little tricks under the hood in React to make that scroll more performant. Um, this is kind of demonstrated. I really love the React Native docs, by the way, because they do this amazing thing where they have like an editor right inside of the documentation viewer. So you can kind of like try stuff out as you go. So, for instance, I wanted to copy this data and sort of showcase, like, just very simply, I kind of thought this was a little fun to be able to go in and drop in some fake data that I've made, because this little example that they show in the viewer here is quite nice. So, like, you can scroll through these items. You can even fire up an iOS simulator right away. And
Yeah. But does it bother you that fourth is spelled wrong? Because it bothered me just a little bit.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Whoever is watching this, please go submit a PR right now.
Fix my fixture data,
Wait,
please.
is it yours? Is it yours or is
Oh,
it
yeah, I threw it in. That's definitely something I would
oh,
do. Misspellings is quintessential classic Brandon. Anyone that's ever worked in a code base for me, they know I have a tendency to make a little misspellings here or there.
that's how
It's way
you
more
know it's
infrequent
yours.
than it
It's
used to be back in the
artisan,
day.
artisanal code.
That Yeah, that way it's handmade, exactly, with like the
Yeah.
live edge. Um, We'll be back to the episode in a second, but first, I'd like to acknowledge the team behind the channel, This.Labs. We're seeing 3x to 5x productivity improvements with our teams and clients using tools like Cursor, Claude Code, and GitHub Copilot. We help teams adopt these technologies and get max value out of them through strategic partnerships, trainings, and other software engineering services. Check us out at ai.thisdot.co. Thanks. Now back to the video. This guy isn't launching right now, so let me just kind of skip out of this. So, anyways, so I mean, in the Skylight social app, when we want to build that scrollable list, we decided to use the FlatList component, which really all it does, if you just take a look at some example code, the implementation just gets into only having this flat list component, and I'll bump this font a lot so everyone can see what's going on. And then you can dump in the data, which is like a big JSON object of all of the data that's going to get poured into some component. Because the trick with flat list is it takes in two things: data and a render item function. That render item function needs to be the component that's going to be rendered. So every time, it's like the same component over and over again with fresh data. So this was working okay for us initially, and we were using the Expo video package to do like all of our video rendering, which I mean, this again, like, I mean, always from me, shout out to the Expo team for like their incredible documentation and really powerful components that make doing React Native insanely simple. But this I mean, this video player is very basic to use. You initialize a video view. There you have this use video player hook that you can attach to the video player and do specific things like loop the video and what have you. But to get this running is not extremely difficult. You know, you can see the video view initialized here. You pass the player in that you want. That player is initialized up here. So we want to take that instance and go, instead of initializing one player, let's initialize three of them. Let's make a thruple.
Like at the same time.
Yes, all at the same time as video players. So that is, and I'm going to go very, very fast in the scroll. That is what is going on inside of our video feed code. The entire video feed, for the most part, is contained inside of this very massive flat list component. Everything else is kind of laid over top of it, and it still respects the scroll, but we have this flat list that's wrapped in a sort of like animated condition, so we can do special animations. But this is the flat list component. Here's the data, kind of what I was referring to last, the actual data as we pass it in, and then the render item function. Everything else underneath here is additional stuff that we need. Like we say this number 3 will pop up a lot, like the initial number of items to render. We say render 3 items because we know we're going to initialize 3 players. At maximum, we tell
why not initialize like 10?
So that's a really good question. I initially tried that. I was like, what? Let's initialize 10. Like, let me do a lot so I can scroll even faster. And what I discovered was the phone was just lagging a lot. And so I kind of whittled it down, and then I whittled it down. And then we decided to go into the BlueSky open source code base and take a look at how they're handling their video scroll. And it seemed like that community had settled on the number 3 as a solid number of videos you can initialize that will still work on like medium quality Android phones, which is
and is it still like, are they doing the same thing where they're using FlatList as well and kind of like the same stuff that you all are using with Expo?
Yes, they were using FlatList. There are other list components out there that you can use. For example, there's one called FlashList. This is from Shopify. FlashList kind of aims to do really just very performance scroll. I attempted to use the component, just didn't get the results that I wanted. There's another component that you can use called RecyclerListView, but I got really worried about this one. I don't want to like call anyone out like right here now, but when I see last updated 4 months ago for a React Native module, the mobile world moves really, really fast, Tracy, and React Native is like following right behind it. So you need your libraries to be up to date. So, I mean, FlashList stays for the most part up to date, but when we saw that the BlueSky core team was just using the standard React Native flat list component, we decided if it's good enough for BlueSky, it should be good enough for us. So what we need to do is really effectively manage these video players.
I love that. And this is why open source is so great. You're learning from different teams and you're sort of like figuring out what the standard is. You don't have to figure it out yourself. So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it gave me just like a lot of confidence to know that I was heading in the right direction because we could have maybe picked like 5 players thinking that was a good number and just never gotten the performance
Mhm,
benefit that we wanted. But the
mhm,
solution really seemed obvious once I read through the discussion and their code
mhm,
because at any given
mhm,
time, think about what videos you need to get to the fastest. You need to get to the current video, which is what you're looking, the next one, and the previous one. So like
mhm, mhm,
the philosophy makes sense. If the phone can keep up with the speed at which you scroll, which it absolutely can, then what you really want to do in mobile world is render the absolute least number of things you possibly can.
mhm.
So with that in mind, um, let me kind of showcase the let me kind of show you sort of some of the state management code here, and then I'll kind of sketch out visually what appeared in my head whenever we got all this together. So we initialize our flat list. And the second thing that we need to do is we need to initialize 3 video players, Tracy, to get things running. So let me show you the state code here, um, of how we sort of manage and juggle these players as you go through. So the very first thing that we did is we kind of like defined this custom type called a thruple, which is really just an array of 3 items long. Um, we initialized some basic state for the video player, and then what we do is once we have this array of 3 videos, we pick which video in that array. We sort of have player 0, player 1, and player 2, and we pick it by doing this little modulo trick where we say, okay, there's this function we have called recycler index of. And what we do is we pass it the index of the current video in the list we're looking at. So if I've scrolled 50 videos down and I'm looking at the 50th video in my feed, I give this function the number 50, and it's going to spit out to me which index of video I need to be watching that at. So it usually, that pattern is video 0 is player 0, 1 is player 1, 2 is player 2, and then video 3 is player 0 again. It's like this infinite loop that just like rotates around. So we're constantly using like the very last video that we had in the queue as we went through. Um Now I won't like harp too much on this, but the state management did get a little tricky. We kind of have to hold like we have our video players, we have this set players function where we sort of like create player state for multiple different video players. This pattern of 3 kind of pops up a lot. We initialize all the state right up front, define some indexes, initialize like very basic again, like the videos, and then from there, it's really a matter of keeping track of what video the user is currently looking at and then how that maps to the actual player in the array. So visually, it kind of landed in my head sort of like, we have this like ribbon sort of that you're scrolling through. Let me like move this to the side some.
Like, some of you're using a pencil and not your, like, touchpad.
I struggle so hard. So what I'm using here is I'm just using FigJam and it's connected to my iPad, and then I'm showing that here on my desktop because I can't like draw with my finger. I use a trackpad. So yeah, like
Yeah.
I love to pull this out to just kind of showcase to people like what's in my head because as we were talking through this, I mean this concept got a little weird because I'm like, well, we have video player number 1, we have video player number 1, we have video player number 2, we have video player number 3. Well, really, maybe I should call
What are these
these
little
video number
things? These,
1,
they
2.
look like little fish.
They do kind of look like little fish, right?
Is
But
there
they're
a video
cameras.
player?
They're
Camera.
cameras. Yeah.
What
Yeah,
does the
yeah.
camera icon look like?
It's a camera. It's absolutely a camera, right?
Oh,
You know?
okay.
And then we've got like, I mean, this is kind of like, each one of these is like the feed,
Oh my god,
little
you drew
feed
a little
item.
heart.
Yeah. My terrible drawing, right? But
It's the best. Yes, I see that. Yeah, so you're basically just, I mean, I totally get it, right? Like, you're basically
right?
just, and that does make sense, right? Because when you scroll past something, it's like you want to go back to it, or the next one, it's like you don't want to wait
Mhm.
for it to load. What do you do though? So it's like if that's done, right? And let's say you're on a video number two, and that's the most current video. Because you said you sort of like instantiated three, right,
Mhm.
at the beginning.
Mhm.
But like when you scroll to video number two, then what happens? Is it that like that's just loading one, or that's loading the next three? Or like is there a new instantiation that happens and the whole thing starts over?
I think actually that's a really good question, Tracy, because
Mhm.
it isn't just as simple as like, oh, we're gonna play the next video, because there's a few
Mhm.
things that we need to jump into doing. So if I'm on, you know, to again to what you're talking about, like if I'm on this current video,
Mhm.
the next video here, this video
Mhm.
player has already been instantiated for me, and I've loaded
Mhm.
it, and the URL to the video that
Mhm.
needs to play has been loaded in. And not
Mhm.
just that, we also superimpose on top of all of this a giant thumbnail that's the very first video, the very first frame of the video.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
tricks the
Mhm.
user into thinking that they're looking at the video when they first scroll to the item, but really they're just looking at an image that's removed
Mm.
once the video starts playing. So when
I
you
love that.
scroll from the current video down to the next one, all of this like shifts, all of this becomes like, previous becomes current, so on and so
So
forth.
you're basically, but you're not like reinstantiating because it's already like one and two in this case are already loaded. So
No,
then
I
like you're just mhm.
That's correct. Yeah, I don't need to reinstantiate the video player, but what I need to do is I need to be watching my scroll events. And
Mhm.
whenever there's an event in React Native called that's essentially like scroll completed.
Mhm.
So once the snap effect happens, whenever we scroll to the next video, code runs where it pulls the previous video player. Oops, let's not use that. Right. Let's do where it's going to pull this previous video player here, and then it's going to throw it down to the bottom. It's going to use that as the next one. So all the state of all of these like shift. Like
Mhm.
now the
Mhm.
current player
Mhm.
becomes the previous one. The next one becomes the
Mhm.
current one. And the
Mhm.
previous
Mhm.
one, that becomes the next player that's going to be used. And then we
Mhm.
hand that player, hey, here's the URL of the video that you are going to play, and then
Mhm.
the React Native Expo player knows from there, like, okay, like if you give me a URL and you can give it this request to load, it will start aggressively loading the video. But to protect
Mhm.
against someone scrolling too fast, we also have the fallback of the image on top. Um,
Mhm.
and the image on top concept of like taking the very first frame of the video, turning that into a JPEG and rendering that
Mhm.
first as opposed to the video comes out of that philosophy of like performance is perception. You can tell me your app is fast. You can show me metrics that show that your app is fast. But if your users are complaining to you saying the app feels slow, it's not performant. And a lot of times you can trick users into thinking that it's performant by doing slick tricks like this, like rendering an image, showing a blur over top as you're rendering some really large image underneath, or having progress bars that progress in certain ways. There's all different kinds of clever tricks that engineers like to use to make things feel performant if they can't like mathematically achieve the performance that they want. So,
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. Yeah, it definitely is about what your users feel. So like that trick of, adding an image on top before to sort of make the user feel like it loaded
mhm.
is definitely sorry. I've heard similar tricks like that before, so I love to hear that. What else do we need to know?
um, I would say one of the important things to know, or at least for me, after going through this experience, is that if you are building a React Native application, you need to take the time to sit down and evaluate the performance of the app. And I would say one of the best ways to do that is just to sit down and use the app. I see a lot of engineers like use metric tools, those are really great. But I just learned a lot by kind of sitting down and scrolling, and I was able to kind of feel where the bumps were at. And I mean, another thing, and Tracy, you said it. You said it on you said it on the stage at Versailship recently. If users don't feel like your app is super performant, they bounce, they leave. So I think performance is very, very important. And if you're dealing with anything scrolling related or infinite scrolling on a mobile application, don't just trust that everything is going to get garbage collected. The garbage collector takes up resources. You need to be thinking about how you can reuse components as much as you possibly can. So that's a lot of what's going on here is a lot of component reuse at the end of the day.
Amazing, amazing. Well, y'all definitely check out Skylight Social. Definitely check out people building on the AT protocol. It is such a cool sort of like community to be a part of and everything like that. And we were super excited to, I mean, we've been very, very, very happy to be a part of the Skylight Social journey. So much so that we are actually also investors in Skylight Social. And I think they're also currently fundraising. So I mean, it might not be during this video if you're watching this video later, but if you're looking to get into some cool investments, Skylight Social is definitely one to watch out for. Brandon, where do we find you on the internet?
Well,
So
you
many
can
places.
I'm attempting to consolidate down a bit because now I'm on BlueSky and X and Mastodon, but you can find
Hmm,
me
hmm.
at Brandon Mathis on pretty much any major social media networks, LinkedIn,
Uh-huh.
X. I've recently
Mhm.
started doing TikTok videos, and that's under Brandon Codes. And I've started doing a little live streaming there as well to
Ooh,
really just talk
Brandon
about
Codes.
building mobile apps. Yeah, Brandon Codes.
I mean,
So
that's a great handle.
yeah, I had to secure that one the minute that I found I could get it on TikTok. I guess there's no
Yeah.
Brandons out there coding on TikTok, so I'm the first one.
Well, everyone, hope you all enjoyed this. Definitely let us know if you need any React Native help. Obviously, at this we do software consulting, doing a lot with AI right now. Same with Brandon, doing some really cool things there, but
Hmm.
that's not here nor there. You can check out thisdot.co. That's thisdot.co, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks, everybody. This episode is presented by This Labs. We help teams adopt AI technologies to get maximum value out of their work. For free developer resources and more information about our services, go to ai.thisdot.co.